Hare Krishna. Prabhuji and Matajis, we can stop our chanting for some time. Whoever has not yet finished your 16 rounds can do it after a little while. Hare Krishna. I humbly request everybody to stop your chanting for some time. Now we are going to hear Bhagavad Katha from His Grace Varada Krishna Prabhu. So you all can see Varada Krishna Prabhu is there. So please, everybody, please enable your cameras as well, so Prabhuji can see all of us. So let us welcome His Grace Varada Krishna Prabhu with three loud Hari Bols. Hari Bol.
Hari Bol.
Hari Bol.
Hari Bol. Hari Bol.
So Prabhuji has been serving ISKCON for many years, and has dedicated his life for serving mission of Srila Prabhupada. Prabhuji is the president of a temple in ISKCON Bangalore, and he is also a co-president in Hyderabad, Habits Hyderabad Temple. So we are very excited. Prabhuji comes to our satsang once in a while, and now it's become more easy to call Prabhuji because of Zoom. Otherwise, to plan everything for Prabhuji to come, it's difficult. But I'm so excited that Varada Krishna Prabhu is here today, and we'll be hearing Srimad Bhagavatam from Prabhuji. So please be ready with your questions. Prabhuji will answer all your questions as well. So with that said, Prabhuji, thank you very much, Prabhuji, for coming and blessing all of us.
Dhanyavad.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
ज्ञानतिमिरन्दस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनाशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिनिति नामिने नमस्ते सरस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna English Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Shri Gandharvika Giridhari Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu ki Jai Sarva Vigna Vinashaka Bhaktavat ki Jai Harinam Sankirtan Mahayagna ki Jai Shri Radha Madan Mohan Shri Jagannath Baladev Subhadra Shri Gaur Nithai ki Jai. Jagat Guru Patit Pavan Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. All of you can repeat one time.
Yes, Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya
Jaya Nityananda.
Jaya
Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda.
Hare Krishna.
We can't see you, Prabhuji.
Yes, just 1 minute.
Yeah.
I'm at a slightly remote place, so I just didn't get access to Bhagavatam Canto 5.
I can keep the verse for you, Prabhuji. I can share the screen for you.
Yes. The verse is okay, but I found that entire chapter very fascinating.
Oh yes, Rishabh Dev's yes, Prabhuji.
Yeah, extremely fascinating. Just a minute.
So while Prabhuji brings up the verse, I would like to say that Prabhuji has been very instrumental in connecting our Bhakti Rickshaw to the temple, Habits ISKCON temple. And Prabhuji has given so many services for all of us to perform from here for the pleasure of Shri Radha Madan Mohan. And some of them include the media services, which was headed by Praveen Prabhu and Suma Mataji. They're also on the call, and many other devotees from the satsang, including Ayer Prabhu and a few others. And Prabhuji also gave us a service of distributing prasadam for Jagannath Rath Yatra. I'm sure it's a memorable experience for many who had done that 2 years back. And Krishna gave us that experience, and then he started lockdown. It's really bad. You know, we are really desperate to do it now, but we can't do it. But we are praying that Krishna will give us the opportunity again very soon. And Prabhuji also has encouraged us many times to be part of the temple activities. And from our group, I think uh, one little service that we could do this year is to dress Radha Madan Mohan for Sharat Purnima. So we are eagerly waiting for that day whenever it comes. And Prabhuji is also in charge of festivals in ISKCON Abbott's temple. And the last 2 years, nobody can say, nobody can deny how 1,000 times quadruplified, vibrant the festivals have become since the time Prabhuji has come. Madan Mohan has completely changed his style of looking. It's everything different in the temple. So that's how devotees bring Lord in front of us. So I'm so excited that Varada Krishna Prabhu is coming to our morning session and giving this class. Actually, Prabhuji is to give another 8:30 Bhagavatam class in the temple, but he still agreed that at least from 7:15 till 8:30 he'll spend time with us. So Prabhuji has a hard stop at 8:30.
I
So,
have rescheduled that class. It can start 15 minutes later.
oh,
So,
great. Thank you, Prabhuji. I'm so grateful to you.
Mm.
Yes.
What time does this class have to end?
Anytime you want to end, Prabhuji.
Don't say like that.
We are used to 3 hours of sessions, but Sunday, morning sessions, we kind of end by 8:30, 8:45.
Okay,
Because
fine. So I'll
devotees
keep
log
that
in
in.
from 5 o'clock. So,
Okay, 8:30, 8:40. Fine. So, can someone read the verse, translation, and purport?
yeah. The verse that we discussed, Prabhuji, the same verse?
Yeah, 5:18.
Yes. Okay, Prabhuji. May I request Suma Mataji to read the verse? Can you see it, Mataji, on my screen?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam. Yes, please.
Mataji, Hare Krishna Dandavat.
Hare Krishna, Varada Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam. All glories to Shri Prabhupada. So, Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto, 5th chapter and 18th verse. Gurur nasasyat, swajano nasasyat, pita nasasyat, janani nasasyat, daivam natatsyan, napatis, napachasasyan, namochayedya, samupeta mrityum. Translation by Divine Grace Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. One who cannot deliver his dependents from the path of repeated birth and death should never become a spiritual master, a father, a husband, a mother, or a worshipable demigod. Shall I go ahead with the purport, Prabhuji?
Yeah.
Purport. There are many spiritual masters, but Rishabhadeva advises that he should not become a spiritual master if he is unable to save his disciple from the path of repeated birth and death. Padeham punarjanma naiti mameti sorjana. One can stop birth and death only by returning home back to Godhead. However, who can go back to Godhead unless he understands the Supreme Lord in truth? Janma karma chame divyam evam yo vetti tattvataha. We have many instances in history illustrating Rishabhadeva's instructions. Shukracharya was rejected by Bali Maharaja due to his inability to save Bali Maharaja from the path of repeated birth and death. Shukracharya was not a pure devotee. He was more or less inclined to fruitive activity, and he objected when Bali Maharaja promised to give everything to Lord Vishnu. Actually, one is supposed to give everything to the Lord because everything belongs to the Lord. Consequently, The Supreme Lord advises in Bhagavad Gita 9 chapter 27th verse, Yat karoshi yad ashnashi yad juhoti tadashiyat yat tapasyasi kaunteya tat kurusva madarpanam. O son of Kunti, all that you do, all that you eat, all that you offer and give away, as well as all austerities that you may perform, should be done as an offering unto me. This is bhakti. Unless one is devoted, he cannot give everything to the Supreme Lord. Unless one can do so, he cannot become a spiritual master, husband, father, or mother. Similarly, the wives of the Brahmanas who were performing gave up their relatives just to satisfy Krishna. This is an example of a wife rejecting a husband who cannot deliver her from the impending dangers of birth and death. Similarly, Prahlada Maharaja rejected his father and Bharata Maharaja rejected his mother, Janani Nasasyat. The word Daivam indicates a demigod or one who accepts worship from a dependent. Ordinarily, the spiritual master, husband, father, mother, or superior relative accepts worship from an inferior relative. But here, Rishabhadeva forbids this. First, the father, spiritual master, or husband must be able to release the dependent from repeated birth and death. If he cannot do this, he plunges himself into the ocean of reproachment for his unlawful activity. Everyone should be responsible and take charge of his dependents, just as a spiritual master takes charge of his disciple or a father takes charge of his son. All these responsibilities cannot be discharged honestly unless one can save the dependent from repeated birth and death. Hari Bol.
Hare Krishna.
Upam karoti vachalam pangum langayate girim yatpatamaham vande Shri Gurum Deenataranam Paramananda Madhavam Shri Chaitanya Ishwaram. Hare Krishna, I am very happy to be with the I don't know what name you people have given your group, but we refer to it as Lilananda Prabhu's extended family.
It's Varada Krishna Prabhu's family in Hyderabad.
That's how we refer to it in our meetings. I know the topic comes up about the Chivoli congregation group. So Lilananda Prabhu's extended family, that's how we call it. Very happy to be with you all. You can see life can take some very unexpected twists and turns. You can say that's what makes life interesting. I say that's what makes life scary. Yeah, of course, it's okay. For a devotee of the Lord, everything is some echo.
Yeah, I'm trying to mute everybody else. Please don't unmute yourself, Prabhus and Matajis.
So for everybody, life is a bit of an adventure for a devotee of the Lord, because honestly speaking, a devotee introspect, or one is expected to introspect which way he is going, and continues to go the way he is going, where it will lead him to. So devotee introspects, and devotee is sometimes watching as if things that are happening are not happening to him, but he gets to become more like an observer of different things that are happening around him, and then he starts wondering that there's the interplay of karma, kala. Karma means our reactions, kala means time. There's an interplay of collective karma and individual karma, and then of course there is in the case of a devotee, there is divine intervention by the Supreme Lord personally in one's life, or shall we say intervention of the mercy of Guru and Krishna, combination of Guru, Vaishnavas and Krishna. So his life tends to get modified, doesn't run the cycle that it is supposed to according to one's karma. but because there is bhakti element, there's a strong bhakti element here. So one's life gets modified, and that's, I mean, that's little dynamic based on how intensely we understand that the lotus feet of Guru and Krishna are possibly the best destination in this material world, and how quickly we move into that shelter. So based on that, one's life becomes very different. But here, of course, in this fifth chapter of the fifth canto, Rishabhadeva was also incarnation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but of course in a very unique mood. Very unique mood. Rishabhadeva's teachings are quite really one of the highlights of the Srimad Bhagavatam, because they, for devotees of the Gaudiya Vaishnava Parampara, they ring a little similar to the instructions of the Gaudiya Vaishnava Acharyas, especially Lord Chaitanya. There's a stunning similarity between what Rishabhadeva is preaching and, shall we say, the mood of Lord Chaitanya and the mood of the Vaishnava Acharyas, as exemplified by their teachings and especially the songs that they have written. The songs of the Vaishnava Acharyas, such as the ones in Sharanagati or Padyavali, or like that. So they ring a little similar. The Vaishnava Acharyas of the Gaudiya Vaishnava Parampara are also pretty clear that if we can have a particular goal or a destination or a vision for this material life, they repeatedly emphasize that it better not be anything material. It better not be anything to do with this material world. If ever a Gaudiya Vaishnava has to define what should be the goal of life, I guess all of them will gravitate onto one particular main goal of life, and that is to find shelter at the lotus feet of Guru and Krishna. Find shelter. So, in other words, keep one's material dealings to the barest minimum, so much so that we just earn money to make a living or something like that. So that's the mood of the Gaudiya Vaishnavas, and Rishabhadeva, in his instructions to his children, is, it's difficult to be more clear and emphatic than Rishabhadeva is in this chapter. He's very firm, very clear, emphatic, and very strong. That's the right word. Extremely strong in the instructions that he gives to his own sons, and very grave. Rishabhadeva, being the Supreme Personality of Godhead, doesn't give any concessions to his sons. I think because they are his sons, he knows he can take the liberty to give them very strong teachings the way they ought to be told. So right from the first verse, you can see that Rishabhadeva is extremely emphatic. If you see, actually the entire run up to this 18th verse is extremely interesting, just so that if you can make a journey through the verses. Here we go. So here it is mentioned that in the very first verse, Rishabhadeva tells his sons, living entities who have accepted material bodies, and among those who have been awarded this human form, should not simply work for sense gratification, which is available for dogs and hogs that eat stool. One should engage in penance, austerity, to attain the divine position of devotional service. By such activity, one's heart is purified, and when attains this position, he attains eternal blissful life, which is transcendental to material happiness and continues forever. And in the second verse, here it says, only by rendering service to highly advanced spiritual personalities, one gets that liberation. These personalities are either impersonalists or devotees, etc. And then he says that one should render service to Mahatmas. For those who are not interested in such activities, who associate with people fond of women, sex, etc., the path to hell is wide open. And this is the very interesting thing. He says that they do not see any difference between one living entity and another. They are peaceful and are fully engaged in devotional service. They are devoid of anger and they work for the benefit of everyone. They do not behave in an abominable way. And such persons are known as Mahatmas. So here we go. So Rishabhadeva is saying to his sons that they do not see any difference between these living entities and just a minute. They do not see any difference between these living entities, one living entity, another living entity. Now, this is a very powerful instruction to somebody who's in the material mood of life, because you're not supposed to differentiate between one living entity and another, in the sense that you can't differentiate between somebody claiming him to be your relative son or father or whatever, and another living entity. Now, this is a pretty radical understanding that is being presented by Rishabhadeva.
Prabhuji, may I request you to keep the camera a little close, Prabhuji? We are not able to hear you clearly.
Yeah.
Little close camera. Sorry, Prabhuji. Yeah.
So
Thank you.
we're supposed to differentiate between living entities, either your family members or non-family members. So much so that we should not even differentiate between living entities of different varieties. I mean to say different species. Now, this is the instruction by Rishabhadeva, directly spoken by Rishabhadeva. In other words, a devotee of the Lord or a Mahatma is equipoised. He has a universal vision. He looks at all living entities as children of God. No specific give or take between him and his, in one sense, you could say no specific give or take. But you see, he's a Mahatma and the Lord is coming in the form of Rishabhadeva as a renunciant, and he speaks this language, which is to be expected of a renunciant. So much so that you don't even differentiate between your living entity, your own kinsmen and those who are not. So that is how Rishabhadeva is advising us to take a look at this material world. Now, and then it is being emphasized that one should perform penance and austerity to be situated at the lotus feet of these Mahatmas and render devotional service unto them. Of course, there's a passing mention of the impersonalist, but you don't get back to the impersonalist again in this verse. Or in the sequence of verses, Rishabhadeva focuses more on the devotees. So all penance and austerity should be directed towards keeping yourself or placing yourself at the lotus feet of these Mahatmas. So that's right. That's there right at the beginning of the of this chapter, and that kind of overrides all other instructions. The purpose of life is not sense gratification. Purpose of life is not any kind of material activity. Forget about material sense gratification. Any type of material endeavor or activity. And then, of course, there's a warning by Rishabhadeva right there in the first two shlokas. He says, stay away from those who are what is the word? Entangled in any form of material activity. Stay away from them. Guard yourself from them. And then Rishabhadeva says that direct all your austerities, penances, thoughts towards trying to find shelter of a bona fide spiritual master, Guru, Mahatma, and focus on serving him and learning from him and perform devotional service according to the instructions that you receive from them. So basically, Rishabhadeva is saying that is the best position one can attain in this material world, the shelter of the lotus feet of Mahatmas. And then, of course, in further verses, Rishabhadeva is contrasting the position, the horrible position between pathetic, miserable position between those who have made the mistake of engaging themselves in any form of material or fruitive activity, contrasting it with those who have taken the shelter of the lotus feet of the Mahatma. he contrasts and then says one is in the deep well, and the other is making steady progress, etc. But then, of course, here in today's verse, it is there's a warning in one sense that Rishabhadeva is telling that nobody should become a father or a husband, father, guru, teacher, if one cannot liberate the living entities who come and who become your whatever children or wife or relatives or students or disciples. So one should not take up any of these positions, etc. So this you could say is a bit of a warning to those who would like to read the first half of this chapter and say, well, if I were to become a guru, I'll have everybody serving me. No, you can't become a guru unless you can liberate them. No. So basically, devotional service, if we were to strictly go by, see, there are 2-3 types of doing devotional service. One, the neophyte stage, we end up doing things more or less by our own, shall I say, enthusiasm or eagerness, etc. So we read and we hear from somebody and then we start doing. That's pretty good. That's good when you start. So you chant a little bit, you read a little bit, you go to the temple, you take prasad, you keep hearing different classes and so on. That's very good. That's a good way to start. But then as you start getting serious, then you start understanding that there has to be discipline in spiritual life. There has to be regularity. There has to be discipline. There has to be some form of accountability. And then you start realizing a little further down the line that there has to be some kind of submission. That's a tough milestone to cross. Until then, it's fun. You know, you attend festivals from outside. Basically, you come as a guest and you go away. You take your 10 festivals. You have darshan of Radha Madan, you take prasad, you do some service. Maybe you will contribute a little bit. And then it's fun. It's nice because devotional service is like that. Susukam kartum abhyayam. It makes you happy. And this type of happiness does not diminish. It goes on increasing. And then if you're so fortunate, you try to explore a little more. And then when you understand that you have to be regular, etc., etc., chanting or reading or whatever. And there are some regulative principles that go along. You might as well practice these regulative principles on your own too. Many people do that. But as you tend to become more serious and then there's a quality of chanting starts improving because you're doing it consistently, etc. And then you start asking yourself that this is not enough. There must be something more. There must be something higher than what I'm practicing. There definitely must be something higher. And then you see that there are some people who take shelter of a guru and an acharya in the parampara. And you see that their quality of devotional life is a lot more, what shall I say, a lot more profound, even in the sense that it's at a different level altogether. So you become curious and then you start thinking that what's the difference between what I'm doing and he's doing? I also chant 16 rounds, he's also chanting 16 rounds. I do this, he does that. I take prasad, he takes prasad. I also have deities at home. He also has deities at home. But what's the difference? Why then did he have to take initiation? But of course, Prabhupada is so kind and merciful that he starts guiding us internally. I mean, Paramatma is there, Prabhupada's books are there. So you start understanding and then you hear lectures and so on. And then at some point of time, you decide that, yeah, so there definitely is a difference. I also need to be, well, you start understanding that devotional service is not all about doing something by reading the books. That's all right. That's good. That's definitely one stage. But devotional life, serious devotional life is a lot more than that. So what is it? That's when it starts hitting you. The devotional service, serious devotional service is all about, just a minute, I'll close the door. Serious devotional service is all about learning the art of learning the science, the art, and the skill of serving the Mahatmas, or shall I say the Guru, you start understanding that that's a little different from what what you've been doing all along. So when you accept a Guru, of course, Prabhupada says you should never accept a Guru as a fashion. Accepting a Guru is very well. There has to be some genuineness in it. You should feel the need for a Guru in one's life, that I need to be guided. I need to be. I need to learn the art of submission. I need to be submissive. So far, whatever I have done is one type of devotional service where hardly any submission, but of course there was submission. I follow the regular principle. I chant 16 rounds. I do this. I do that. At a very at one level, there is definitely, you call that submission to Srila Prabhupada's broad general instructions. But then, of course, Prabhupada later on keeps hinting at the necessity to find a Guru in one's life and so on. And then you see that the quality of spiritual life in those who have taken that shelter of the Guru is very different. Obviously, it has to be because you have a different, your connection with the Guru Parampara Krishna has become a lot more irreversible, and it's a lot more secure line. You could call it the secure hotline or something like that, helpline, hotline, whatever it is. It's become a lot more secure. But you have stayed uncommitted till now. I mean, those who have not taken initiation. So your level of commitment is also okay at one, graduated or it hasn't matured. So ultimately, then you start realizing that there has to be a Guru. And why do we need a Guru? Because everything is there. You could say everything is there in the books. I can practice, but you see, one has to be personally accountable. Number one, and one has to learn the art and the science and whatever practice of submission. And this is the hidden message that consistently runs through the entire Vedic scriptures. That ultimately the definition of, or shall I say, the one of the significant milestones that we have to cross in our bhakti journey is to accept the necessity that I have to surrender to somebody. I mean, I have to be submissive to somebody. I have to accept someone as an authority of my life, of every aspect of my life. I accept someone else as an authority of every aspect of my life, voluntarily. That's a tough call. But we have to do it, because ultimately, if you ask me as to what is devotional service, my definition would always be this: to be engaged in the service of Guru, Krishna, the Vaishnavas, and the deities as per the instructions of your Guru or his representative. The Gaudiya Vaishnava would define devotional service, serious devotional service, to be engaged, apratihata and ahaituki, engaged selflessly, joyfully, enthusiastically, completely, always, with a lot of gratitude and humility, always be engaged in the service of Guru, Krishna, Vaishnavas, whatever, as per the instructions of one's spiritual master. That is devotional. Ultimately, that is what is devotional service. So that is why it said that no matter what decision we make, we check with the Guru. We say, this is what we want, this is what we feel like doing, this is what we want to do. Is this okay? So ultimately, this instruction as to be under the, to learn the art and the science and, shall I say, practice of submission is what is devotional service. So here, Rishabhadeva is telling that unless you're, you don't become a guru or a father or a parent or a husband or a teacher or a guru or whatever, or for that matter, you don't become a leader or a king of a kingdom if you cannot guide all your subjects under you to this destination. What is that destination? That destination is to find shelter of a bona fide acharya, submit yourself to him, and tell him, my dear Lord, you're the master of my life from today onwards, and I just want to be engaged in whatever activities as per your wish, as per your command, as per your instructions. I would like to live like that. So if you cannot direct your wards or people under you into this kind of a destination, this kind of a platform of submission, then you think twice. Are you I mean, is it okay for you to become a teacher or a father or a husband or a parent or whatever if you don't want to do this? Actually, Rishabha Deva is asking this question of you and me, saying, you're all right now that you become a father, now that you become a husband, now that you become a teacher of sorts, now that you become a leader or something. Do you understand that this is your primary responsibility? That you direct people on the path of liberation. And what is liberation? Ultimately, liberation liberation ultimately means that you become free from material modes of nature, you become free from karmic reactions, you become free from the influence of this material creation. You live on a platform of service to Guru, Krishna, etc., etc. And that's your 24-hour absorption. That's one sense. And at the end of your life, maybe you'll go back to God, and maybe you'll go back to whatever, wherever your Guru sends you, wherever your Guru sends you, or wherever Krishna takes you. So that's liberation. And there cannot and should not be any other goal of life other than to achieve that. And there is no other means of achieving that than surrender to your Guru or becoming submissive to your Guru. So there is no confusion regarding what we want to achieve and how we want to achieve it. Rishabha Deva is saying, making it very clear. What we should achieve, how we should achieve. What we want to achieve is complete shelter of Krishna. Complete shelter of Krishna, non-stop engagement in the service of Krishna. Ahituki, uninterrupted service of Krishna. Apratihata means uninterrupted. And ahituki means it's not motivated by any desire, secret desire, external, whatever, no desire. You just want to keep serving, that's all. What do you want to do? Keep serving. What boon you want? Just this, that I should keep serving all the time as per the instructions of my Guru. So that is the destination. The means is surrender to Guru. Complete surrender to Guru. So Rishabha Deva is explaining to his sons that take shelter of Mahatmas. Actually, later on, after I just read to you verse number 1 and 2. Later on, leading up to this verse number 18, Rishabha Deva directly mentions the name of Guru. He says, "You'll accept the Guru." And then, of course, like I said, Rishabha Deva contrasts. He says, he actually speaks about those who are not doing this in a very, what shall I say, in a very concerned and sympathetic way. He says, they're engaged in something else. This is wasting their life. They seem to think that there's something worth achieving in this material world. This is the language Rishabha Deva speaks. They seem to think that there's something worth achieving in this material world, starting from the highest planet of the material world to the lowest planet. They seem to think there's something worthy of pursuit. They seem to be under the illusion that there's something worthy of pursuit, there's something worthy of acquiring, there's something worthy of some position that's worthy of being occupied. So Rishabha Deva is kind of expressing amazement. He says, what's there in this world? What's there? I mean, this is the world where there is untimely death, there's pain, there's suffering, there's agony, there's unpredictability of life, it's everything. And so, what is it that is worthy of being acquired or being pursued? Or what position that is worthy of occupying? How can there be anything in this world that is worthy to see? This is the vision of an Acharya. I mean, King Krishna, of course, Rishabha Deva. But then Rishabha Deva is playing the role of an Acharya. Highly renunciant. I mean, I don't like the word highly renunciant Acharya. That would be a improper shall I say, designation. Because that's the way this world is. It's just that we refuse to look at it that way. We're so very, Rishabhadeva also expresses big surprise. He says that those who are lustily engaged or lustily engaged for power, or money, or sex, whatever, they tend to look at this world in a very different way. Rishabhadeva says they tend to look at this world in a different way, which is completely wrongful depiction of what this world actually is. This creation is. This is not meant for you to lord over or spark yourself or make plans or anything. You know, we make 5-year plans, 10-year plans, so whatever. It's not meant for that. This world is meant to fry you out and drive you back into the protective arms of your guru and take a shelter. Protective arms of your guru and take a shelter and say, my Lord, I am tired. I'm here. Please protect me. Please guide me and please bless me so that I don't turn back again into this material world. Krishna is saying nothing is worthy of pursuit in this material world. Nothing is worthy of possession or pursuit in this material world. Nothing. The only thing that's worthy is devotional service. And again, when I say devotional service, I always mean that I believe that Gaudiya Vaishnava should define devotional service is execution of service, favorable services towards Krishna and Guru and the Vaishnavas as per the instructions of his Guru or his representative, or his bona fide representative. So that's the only thing we have to achieve. And Rishabhadeva is telling his sons, your sons of, I don't want you to make the same mistake that everybody is doing. The best thing for you to do. Of course, Rishabhadeva also depicts the complex problems that a typical Grihastha would encounter and how helpless and hopeless his situation is. Like that. So he tells his sons, in other words, he's bluntly, directly telling his sons that please, please, please don't look for anything beyond searching for the shelter of Mahatmas. And who is a Mahatma? Mahatma is also defined as somebody who's incessantly, completely, always, fully engaged in the service of his Guru or whatever, his Guru's mission. And that's the Guru Parampara, as explained by the Vaishnava Acharyas as well. So there's a lot of convergence between what Rishabhadeva says and, shall we say, the most confidential teachings of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to his intimate disciples. When Lord Chaitanya also says that to some of his intimate disciples, he says that to his intimate disciples, he had an extremely different standard of life. So much so that he didn't like Sanatana Goswami having a costly blanket. So he preferred that he had a tattered blanket rather than a expensive one. So Lord Chaitanya is saying that be very careful, be very cautious. You never know through what door this infection may come in. It's just like this whole COVID thing. One never knows through which door, through whom this infection may come. So just as we were extremely cautious, there was a time when we wouldn't let vegetables come in. We would wash them with, what all solutions, hot water, warm water, this water, and then let them in. So we were very careful. Some people shut themselves up in their houses. Some people went away to their farmhouses because lesser chance to meeting other people in order to protect themselves. So that there's a lesson to be learned there that we should, which is why Prabhupada said, establishing Daivi Varnashrama communities is the other half of my mission, and somehow I just didn't get the time to do that thing completely. So I leave it to my disciples. So Daivi Varnashrama not necessarily means that we have to go and set up farmhouses and farming, not necessarily in that. You shouldn't look at it in that perspective alone. Daivi Varnashrama means a whole community of devotees who are supporting living. They can be even in one form or other, they can be located in cities also. So we make friends with devotees, and devotees together build a school where we teach our children these teachings of Rishabhadeva, along with everything else. And then we live together, and probably we worship together, we take prasad together, we hear together. Maybe we even we preach together, we hold festivals together. The only thing probably that we don't do is in cities, we don't have protection. We could still have farmers, whatever. A bit like what Lilananda Prabhu is doing. But the point is, communities can come up anywhere. So first we build communities wherever we are. Like for example, in and around the temple in Bangalore, where I stay, I see that more and more devotees are moving nearer to the temple. And people who are near the temple are slowly becoming devotees. So we have a whole community around the temple of devotees who come, who do seva, who take prasad, who make garlands, who listen to classes, who chant, who wear the tilaka, who have japa beads and walking around. And for them, Giridhari is everything in their life. Giridhari is everything, and listening to Prabhupada's lectures or organizing festivals, that's it, that's their life. And slowly we see that pockets of interest emerging. They want to have, what do you call them? Homeschooling, and then community-based homeschooling, different things like that. So the whole community is emerging. So that's the next phase for ISKCON, to how to build Vaishnava communities in cities or wherever it's possible, wherever. It's not that all of us do what we're doing, pack our bags and go to the villages or something. That there are people who do that. I'm all for it. But not everybody can. So wherever we are, let's build a community where we send our kids to school. We even probably try to do business together, different things together. And so that our interaction with the materialistic mindset becomes less and less. And we read the Bhagavatam every day. And when we read the Bhagavatam every day, so verses like this will stare at us. Will strongly stare at us and ask us this question: are you there yet? What's stopping you? Why can't you show more conviction, more faith in what you're doing, and go on making? See, the thing about devotees, he shouldn't be static. He should be making progress. He should be moving towards a higher level of faith, engagement, participation, and I would say submission. And we have to do it. It's not that, okay, I've got Diksha, I've got this, I've got that, so now let things drift the way there. No, that would be pretty sad, because human life, like I said, we have to use our intelligence to keep thinking, what should I do next? What's my next level? How can I progress spiritually? And do you know something? Your guru is always waiting, because typically they are sannyasis, they're waiting to give you the next higher level of instruction. And take you closer to understanding, take you closer to this understanding that actually there's nothing worth pursuing in this material world. Actually, probably the only reason why we exist in this material world is because, or we have dealings, is because we need to earn some money to make a living, and then we have the opportunity to preach. We have the opportunity to go on preaching people and bringing them, helping them cross over. So this is Rishabhadeva's mood. This side set is very much like how Lord Chaitanya wanted his intimate followers. This is the mood he shared with them. But then, of course, Lord Chaitanya was very, on the external surface of it, he was very accommodative. We just have to add Hare Krishna and that's all. yeah, that's how it begins. We don't tell you what's coming down the line. We just say, begin with chanting of the Hare Krishna mantra. Because we know that it's the Hare Krishna mantra which will constantly, if properly chanted and heard, it is this Hare Krishna mantra that will constantly keep altering your value system, because that's Krishna. The Hare Krishna mantra is non-different from Krishna, non-different. It carries the mercy of Guru and Krishna, and it carries the mercy of Lord Chaitanya, the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. So it constantly stirs up the desire for renunciation, desire for purity, the desire for more Vaishnava association, the desire to at least read and know about people like Rishabhadeva and his teachings. And whether you like it or not, it will stay somewhere in your mind. It will stay part somewhere in your mind. And once in a while, it will pop up and say, hey, this is what you learned. So why not make a plan to at least go in that direction or even think about it? So actually, a devotee should be a restless person. I mean, constantly thinking. But then, of course, I have to paraphrase every time I talk about devotee and his life, that should be under the shelter of a guru, and we should be willing. Like one time, only the Japataka Maharaj told me. I was remembering this when I was preparing for this class. He told me that because Ramanujacharya, the great Ramanujacharya, lived in Melkote, which is not too far from Bangalore. So he told me that I was thinking very deeply. I was a little distance away actually. He gestured to me. I went close to him, and then he said, "You know, Ramanujacharya had a lot of Grihastha disciples." I said, "Yes, Maharaj, I know he had. In fact, he had so many dedicated Grihastha disciples." Then he said that Ramanujacharya would call his Grihastha disciples and tell them to go in different directions and open mutts, the Sri Vaishnava mutts, in different cities, different directions, different. Those days, I'm talking about Ramanujacharya lived a good 1100 years back, 1100 years back, or something around that. So he would ask them to go in different directions, the Grihastha devotees, and they would go and open mutts. That's how we have the Ramanujacharya Mutt in Srirangam. Not just there, we have in Haridwar, we have Rishikesh, Badrinath, we have Varada, practically all over the country. And Ramanujacharya would direct his Grihastha disciples, and they would go pack their bags or whatever, hold it on their head with wife and children. They loved their Guru so much. And probably they would never again see their Guru. We're not talking about a time when there was Zoom or something like that. No, that's not the age we were in. Probably that would be the last time he would see his Guru. Can you imagine what type of dedication they had for Ramanujacharya? How much deep love they had for it, and to what extent they were willing to go to serve him. And how, what is the word? How unconditional was their love for Ramanujacharya? I mean, it's difficult to explain what this Guru-Shishya relationship is that Ramanujacharya had with his disciples. It's hard to explain. It's just that it strikes you like a Muhammad Ali punch, saying, "Wake up, man! This is what a Guru-Shishya relationship ought to be." It's not that Ramanujacharya's disciples were anything very, very special. If you ask the Gaudiya Vaishnava, that's how it ought to be. That's how every disciple should look at his Guru. They just would pack their bags and go away in that particular direction, and maybe never to see their Guru again. They go and open mud, beg, borrow, whatever, beg there. I don't know what they do. I mean, those modern days. It wasn't easy. You're going to a place, maybe you don't even know the language of the people there. You go, you learn the language, you Hare Krishna. I have no idea how they went about doing that, but my prostrated obeisances to all those amazingly exemplary disciples of Ramanujacharya who went in different directions and established mutts. And His Holiness Japataka Swami told me something. Of course, I'm sure he said this to many people also. He said, I would really want all my disciples, especially Grihastha disciples, to be trained up to have that kind of faith. In the words of Prabhupada, in the words of the Guru Parampara, that they should be also willing, sometime they should be willing to demonstrate their faith, their love, their trust in the words of the Guru Parampara or words of the Guru. I mean, for me, it was like a mind-blowing instruction that he gave me. And then I was just thinking about it. Then I thought, if anybody is qualified to give that kind of an instruction, it's people like him, like Radhanath Swami, Japataka Swami, Gopal Krishna Swami, Bhaktacharya Swami, and many others, because how they lived their lives from the time they met Srila Prabhupada. So that's how they lived their lives. From the moment their eyes fell on the lotus feet of Srila Prabhupada, that's how they lived their life. So Prabhupada for you will do anything. Prabhupada for you will do anything, will do everything, will do anything, anytime. Don't even ask our permission if you do not. See, actually, sorry, not say Rishabhadeva. Rishabhadeva is speaking about that kind of a lifestyle. And then I thought that, well, I don't know which lifetime I'll learn to live like that, but definitely you've given me an instruction that will ring in my ears, probably all my life. I mean, it's all my life. I don't even know where to begin to follow an instruction like that. I don't even know where to begin. And he said, I'd like all my disciples to be trained to be able to make that kind of a, what I would say, make that kind of a, I don't like to use the word sacrifice. No, it isn't. That's how a disciple ought to be. See, for me, being a disciple is a journey of faith. It's a journey of submission. It's a journey of glorification of not just your guru, the entire Guru Vrinda of ISKCON, the Guru Parampara that we inherit, or that's the Guru Parampara, which is our legacy. For me, our spiritual life is about understanding more deeply what it means to please a Guru, genuinely please a Guru. Of course, there is no doubt that if you chant your 16 rounds and follow regulated principles, your Guru will be pleased. Why not? Of course, he will be pleased, because that's a very pure way of living. That's very pure. That's very pleasing to Guru, etc. But the big question is, can you please your Guru more than that? Yeah, obviously you can. You can please your Guru much more than that. So are you ready for that? Are you even willing to look into that? Can I please my Guru more than that? Yes, of course you can. So you spend some time looking at Rishabhadeva's instructions, and then you start understanding that. What is it that like I said, Lord Chaitanya, Rishabhadeva, or the acharyas in our parampara, all of them converge. They say, I mean, the most glorious stories we hear, inspiring stories, is one of how the disciples surrender to his spiritual master. I mean, even if you were to look at, let us say, Ramayana or Mahabharata, there is this whole thing about when Hanuman took off from the bank of the Indian Ocean, this side, when he jumped to Lanka, it is said that before he did that, it's an amazing sequence in the Sundarakanda. It is said that he remembered all the devotees, all the people who had ever blessed him at any point of time. Very gratefully, very respectfully, very lovingly, he remembered all of them. And, he specifically remembered his gurus and thanked them for their mercy, for instructions, for empowering him. And he remembered them and he said, I can't let you down. This is a test of my bhakti towards you. I can't let you down, and I won't turn back. Even if I fail, I fall into the ocean midway through my journey, I would rather do that than give up then turn my back on this. So it's when I can't, I just put my faith on you. He remembers Surya Bhagavan because Surya Bhagavan is considered to be his guru. I said, I vow to undertake this journey. Will you kindly bestow your mercy upon me? So Sundarakanda explains that it was a moment of great test of Hanuman's resolve. And what resolve are we talking about? His faith in Guru. And he remembers everybody who ever blessed him, and then he jumps, and then we know the rest of the story. So whichever way you look, there is this deep call that we have to constantly what shall I say? I can't use the word reform or whatever. I constantly introspect and then keep asking questions to ourselves. Please don't mistake me. Don't think that I'm a great big hero in this field or something. I'm only sharing what I have heard, what I have read. I'm in no way. I'm too far off from even deeply understanding what these instructions of Rishabhadeva, the comment by Soni. I told you very frankly, I don't even know where to begin. I don't even know what it means. He said, I would like my Guru to say this happens to be like. We train to become like that. I mean, it struck me. I said, this is how they look at their disciples. This is what they're wanting their disciples to become. Completely submissive, completely, I mean, and that life is the life of a liberated saint. I mean, it's not that we become liberated at the end of the life, etc. No. The moment you change your mind's focal point and then you start thinking that my life is meant for my Guru and serving him and following my Guru's instructions, you're liberated. You're liberated, gentlemen. You're free. You're free from the bondage of this material life. And that's what your Guru wants you to achieve. The moment you decide to dump this and accept the Guru's instructions as everything for you new, I'm nowhere near that standard. Please don't mistake me because I've said this. The reason I'm saying this is because I'm hoping that in the process of saying maybe some lifetime, I will then begin to take these instructions seriously. I'm just a faithful gramophone kind of a person, repeating what I've heard in the hope that you all bless me so that I become a little more serious, sincere, devoted to my Guru and Guru's mission. I'm hoping desperately that your mercy will be that agent that will transform my life also. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Lilananda Prabhu, it's 8:21 now, so maybe another 15 minutes if anybody wants to make any comment or. I don't know if any of it made any sense, but I'm sorry. I'll just sit right. It fell off.
Yeah.
Yeah, there we are.
Yeah. Prabhuji, thank you for an amazing class. Yeah.
I kind of like what I read in the course of preparing for this class. I loved it. Thank you.
Prabhuji, thank you for an amazing class. And I would like to tell everybody in the call something that you heard this verse from the right person, that is Varada Krishna Prabhu, because he himself has shown how a grahastha can do more. Like Prabhuji was saying, you can do definitely more than following the four regulatory principles and chanting. Prabhuji himself he could have continued in an industry like we all are, like whether it's IT industry or any other manufacturing industry, but Prabhuji himself opted out and he joined the industry of Srila Prabhupada. and, and he has dedicated his life with more than 30 years. He's taking care of temples. Wherever there is a crisis in our society, Prabhuji is first sent there. Okay, go and fix it. So he came to Hyderabad to fix our situation here. And Prabhuji is managing multiple projects. Prabhuji has a very nice wife, amazing daughter, very good devotees. Mataji takes care of the DT Alankarana section, and Prabhuji takes care of so many other managerial aspects. And their temple, Narasimha Giridhari, it's more called like a cultural center. You know, you can see the mood itself that more than a temple, it's about bringing people together. So in this verse, when Prabhuji is speaking about surrender to Guru, and I don't think we have better examples in our society like Varada Krishna Prabhu himself, who has dedicated his life being a grahastha. In fact, when I was speaking to Radhesham Prabhu about inviting, inspiring speakers, he said, our congregation mostly has grahasthas, right? We are all married people, and we need grahasthas coming in front of us and giving their own example. Though they are humble that they don't give their example, but we can see it, that how nicely they have structured their life to serve Guru and Gauranga, and have shown to the world that this is life which is more blissful and more satisfying, purposeful, than to lead a life to buy a property somewhere, or get some fame and name in a visiting card. Right? That's not the whole game. So, in fact, I'm so happy and glad that Prabhuji is giving this discourse this Sunday, and next Sunday it is Sitaram Prabhu, one other stalwart, Grahastha, 5 children. Is it right, Prabhuji? Yes, 4 or 5 children, and they're Gurukulis, and Prabhuji runs so many projects in ISKCON. He's there, and the following week is Vedant Chaitanya Prabhu, again one other Grahastha, who can come and tell us how do we do more than what we are doing right now. So I'm so excited that I know that Prabhuji so nicely shared and guided all of us. Prabhuji, I have one question, and I'm sure many others have raising hands. They also have some questions. I don't want to lose this opportunity to ask a question, so I'll go first. Yeah. So Prabhuji, you spoke, this verse is so authoritative. And whenever I heard, it is so much, like, as you said, to the point and clear, that if you can't deliver your dependence, you can't become a guru, you can't become a father or a parent or even a worshipable devata. That was too much to, even worshipable devata you can't become if you can't deliver people who are coming to you. And deliverance means to take everybody to the lotus feet of Krishna. So Prabhuji, from a guru perspective, I think it's clear. But I wanted to ask from a disciple perspective, what is the destiny of people who ignorantly uh, go to gurus who are not qualified to be gurus, and they actually make them into gurus, who kind of misguide the whole society? What is the Do they also have some reaction?
Oh, okay. You're talking about somebody landing up accidentally at the wrong address.
Probably accidentally
You
is
will,
one thing, but even knowingly, he is simply making somebody into a guru, declaring somebody as a guru without knowing the qualification of how to declare anybody as guru. Like I go and declare some ABC person as guru, not understanding that guru cannot become guru unless he has a guru, and he delivers them to Krishna.
see, Prabhupada explains that this is the age of imposters. People who are not qualified to be gurus end up becoming gurus either by design, plan, conspiracy, or accidentally they're hoisted. People who are not qualified become like that. It's the age of imposters. People who are not qualified become leaders of society, leaders of the government, the rule. If or for that matter, people who regularly indulge in all kinds of, shall I say, immoral, unethical kind of dealings become leaders, become. So there is this dilution, and there is this whole insincerity. And so we turn towards imposter leaders or politicians or business leaders or even pseudo spiritualists in the vain hope that they get some quick fix solutions. So this is the characteristic of this age. One should not be surprised that this is how this age will be, and it will continue to be. Which is probably the reason why Prabhupada used strong words. He said, if somebody says I'm God, then Prabhupada, you know what he said? Prabhupada said, You're not God, you're dog. Somebody said, Prabhupada was heavy on all these imposter gurus. He said they're fraudsters, they don't know anything, fools. Very strong words. And rightfully so, because they were indulging in playing with the fate of people. So it comes down to this point about Lord Chaitanya's instruction that Muragya Guru Hai. So all of us have to take this mission seriously, and it has to be built around the instructions of Prabhupada and the Guru Sadhu Shastra. Everybody should become expert in scripture and then go out and preach. And so, in every way, in all formats, real what do you call it? Temples and festivals and online. That's the new thing, because it's the fastest, most rapid way of getting all the people, getting their attention and so on. So there is an urgent need to make the truth available, drown out the noise being made by these untruthful imposters. So there is I would say, Guru Maharaj, Prabhupada and Chaitanya would expect us to present this philosophy more effectively, more loudly, more clearly, more emphatically, in more number of ways, so people end up coming into the pro bono shelter. So your question is, what happens to those who take shelter of imposters or pseudo gurus? That's pretty unfortunate. That's pretty sad. It's like, during this coronavirus time, you could see that they were selling fake drugs, and then just putting a label remdesivir and selling. What will happen? There'll be setback there. Some people could die or whatever. But spirituality is a little different. That you would get confused, you'd get frustrated, you'd be disappointed, and maybe you'll turn again and search for the truth. Bhavanam Janmanam Ante Jnanavan Mam Prapadyate. So temples have to be built everywhere. Temples should be beautiful. Prabhupada said gorgeous standards of worship, so that should be enough to attract the Indians. Nice worship, nice kirtan, nice prasad, opulent temples. Prabhupada said that. So, and then of course Prabhupada wanted book distribution, kirtan and prasadam distribution, temples everywhere. And now of course we want online preaching to go on more aggressively, so everybody gets to do the difference and finds shelter at the lotus feet of Srila Prabhupada and Lord Chaitanya. So when you take shelter of imposters, it's pretty sad, it's very tragic. We can't make fun of them. Maybe we also, before this lifetime, who knows how many lifetimes, we've been through fake gurus or whatever, and then finally they've reached the lotus feet of Lord Chaitanya and Guru. So we should feel compassionate, we should feel a sense of urgency, sense of concern, and do what we can to bring them to the right path. Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much, Prabhuji.
For us to be gentle, sensitive, compassionate, and kind, and reach out.
So you all can unmute yourself or post your questions in the chat, whichever way.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Chat, can someone look up?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Adanut Pranam. It's a very nice class, Prabhuji. Prabhuji, I have one question. It's a general question. That as per the verse that Guru is responsible and father is responsible and husband is responsible for the dependent, right? So if Guru, the disciple doesn't follow that instruction and fall down somehow, then what is the Guru's responsibility in this case? And similarly, in the case of father, if the immediate family or the sons are not following this one, he can just ask them to follow the path. He can just guide them. Similarly, husband is guide the wife, and he cannot force them to just follow the path if they don't like it. So how this Guru and father and husband is responsible to deliver those?
Good question. Prabhupada answers saying that the love for my disciples that I have, love for my disciples, that's unconditional. That's a very, very sweet answer. Can you imagine Prabhupada saying that? The love I have for my disciples is unconditional, and I can never withdraw it, nor can I stop it. He said this. I mean, how fortunate we are to find shelter of the lotus feet of such a great Acharya. He said, it doesn't matter. You may have difficulty, you may fumble, you may stumble, fall. You may even probably end up criticizing me for some time. But my love for you is unconditional. I'll keep waiting. I'll keep praying for you. I'll keep hoping you'll come back. I know you will come back someday. I live with that hope. This is the Guru speaking about his disciple who's gone away. And then we have stories of Prabhupada shedding tears when someone goes, shedding tears of happiness when that person comes back. So becoming a Guru is being chosen by Krishna because you have that kind of ability to show love, compassion, forgiveness, tolerance. A Guru can never ever become, what shall I say, terribly angry with his disciple. He may be angry with what a disciple has done. That's a different thing compared to becoming angry with the disciple. He may be angry with what he has done, but not with him. So you become a Guru only when you have that type of a compassion overflowing in your heart. Same way, father, same way, husband, same way, teacher. Teacher will sacrifice everything to see that the student is well situated, learns the right thing. I mean, there are so many stories, inspirational stories of a coach who does so much to get his team to win a prize. I've seen many movies like that, very inspirational movies, short stories, movies of coaches and who've gone out of the way and helped their team made up of, let's say, black men in America, and then we turned them into a good baseball team or basketball team or something like that. Very, very inspirational. They never give up, etc., etc. That's the material side, but in spiritual side, there's no such thing as giving up at all. A Guru is unlimitedly compassionate. Why? Because he's representing Lord Chaitanya. Only such people get picked up to become Gurus, because they've fully absorbed themselves in the mood of Lord Chaitanya, becoming unlimitedly, inconceivably large-hearted, compassionate, forgiving, patient, tolerant. And they know that their whole life is a life of sacrifice for the benefit of their disciples. And they constantly pray for their disciples. They cry for their disciples. They pray and they cry for their disciples. Sometimes they cry for those who are not even disciples, saying, see how much they are suffering. Prabhupada used to shed tears when he saw the way people were struggling in this material world. So that's our legacy. That's our legacy. That's our real wealth of this parampara. Good question. So what can you do? You want to be a father, then you can't stop loving your child, no matter how good, bad, ugly it turns out to be. You have to pray for him, you have to try. But then you cannot succeed unless you are strict with yourself, unless you are strong. You're strong, you're strict, and you're well situated spiritually. So that is why Rishabhadeva says, first you be situated. Your faith should be unshakable. And then you can take people with you. They will come with you because your faith is unshakable. Okay, good question. All right, any other questions?
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhu Danda.
Yes.
Vanilla Mataji, go ahead.
Prabhu, so should we not get married or have kids until we become so pure that we'll be able to deliver our dependents?
Well, what we do is, let me tell you something. We get married and we have children also because of it's the order of our Guru. Only when our Guru orders, all right, you get married, have children, but you bring up your kids in a particular way. See, everything in our life ultimately is triggered by the sanction of a Guru. Sometimes when we are terribly unqualified, maybe Guru may even say, hey, listen, no, don't get married yet, or something like that. Guru may say, but then of course, knowing fully well the quality of Atmas in Kali Yuga, the Guru will give permission when somebody comes up and says, I want to get married. Guru knows they can't tolerate anymore. They have the urge for lust, whatever, sex or something like that. So Guru will pray to Krishna saying, bless them. See, you must understand the power of a Guru. It's not what you and I think. Guru is Chintamani. Blessings, the impossible can happen. But then we can't transfer the burden on our Guru. We can't say, I live the life of Casanova, or a playboy or something, and then everything goes to me. That's not being a gentlemanly. But the point is, you have sincerely tried. But you can't do more than that. Then Guru steps in. So when one becomes a grasta, has conceives children, all that with the permission of Guru, with the blessings of Guru and Vaishnavas. And then what can we do? If we don't get it, then we go crazy. If we are not allowed the chance to have physical association and this and that, we go crazy. So you think the Gurus don't know that? They know. So they say, all right, you get married, do it properly, and have children. But then understand that there's a huge responsibility. The Guru knows that you may not be very perfect. But in order for the whole community, Vaishnava, what do you call it? Varnashrama system to emerge. So Guru is everything. Ultimately, we have to understand this. Prayer, Guru, Vaishnava's blessings. That's what is the most important ingredient in our life. So we go to Guru and say, you have to save me. I can't live like this. I need to get married. I need to have this. I need to have that. So will you kindly bless me, protect me, and give me mercy or something like that. But we should be genuine. We should also try to keep on improving our standards. Okay? We are helpless, and because we are helpless, that's one more reason why we turn to Guru and Krishna.
Thank you very much.
Hare Krishna. Prabhuji, I would like to, between the question answers, I would like to bring up one Satya Srinivas Prabhu. It's his birthday today, and I wanted you to give your blessings. Satya Prabhu, Prabhuji, where are you? Haribol?
Prabhu, I can't give blessings. I'd like that correction. I can only pray for him. I'm too small.
Satya Prabhu, can you enable your screen, please?
Satya, where are you?
Haribol.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam Mataji.
My best wishes. I am so unhappy that I'm missing a party. I don't know if you're having a party there.
Of course, Prabhuji, we will have.
I'll come back. I'll claim my rightful share when I am back there.
Varada Krishna Prabhu, Dandavat Pranam Prabhu.
Oh, you've been such a sweet devotee, Satya Prabhu. I remember the times I've come to your house. You're such a host. You're a very sweet gentleman. You're a very sweet devotee. I wish you well, and I'll pray for you and your family.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Your blessings are very important to me.
Let us all devotees once chant one Hare Krishna mantra for Prabhuji's spiritual progress, and he never comes back to his material again. Hare Krishna,
Hare Krishna,
Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Hare. Hari Bol. Thank you, Satya Prabhu.
Maybe we have
Thank
time
you so much.
Just one more question. I need to log off.
Yes, Prabhuji. Anybody, any other question, Hari Bol?
Prabhuji, I have a question, Prabhuji.
Yes, Sumama.
Yes.
Dandavat Pranam Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. So it is a very hard-hitting, straightforward, very strong verse, right, Prabhuji? So sometimes when I read this, I feel, kids, babies who are born in the Krishna conscious families, they probably will not go through as deep a repentance and guilt of having wasted time as I do. I mean, although I was part of a family which had Krishna at the topmost platform, but still I would say I missed all the straightforward, clear instructions as to what should be the single-minded focus of a human life. That was missing, Prabhuji. So whenever I read this, I go into that deep sort of repentance and guilt.
So how do we handle that, Prabhuji? The reason I ask this is because of that I don't know how to tell this verse to somebody else. Let's say we do this with the blessings and mercy of His Grace Lilananda Prabhuji and Anuradha Mataji. We have been teaching SSR courses of SSR and Bhagavad Gita to devotees. But then this is the ultimate, what do you say, on the head. It goes hard hitting verse. And how people will take it sort of stops us from being this straightforward, although it is not us being straightforward, it is the verse itself is like that. So I'm asking two questions here, Prabhuji. How do I take it and how do we give this verse to others?
Oh, good question. Suma Mataji. Oh, you see, for that matter, there are many other instructions that maybe we are not following the most perfect or sincere way. This is the mode of a disciple, by the way. He never thinks that I'm doing a magnificent job of following the instructions of my guru. I'm better than everybody else, or something like that. No disciple, no well-situated disciple ever develops the courage to think like that. That's audacity, actually. One cannot think like that in front of Guru because it's Guru who's. See, on a material platform, we may make different types of calculations, but on a platform of surrender, how can we compare ourselves to our Guru? I'm just saying he's willing to take your karma, our karma, and just to see that we are delivered to the lotus feet of Lord Chaitanya and so on. Krishna. We can't compare. What does he gain? He doesn't. He's doing it because of his love for the mission of his Guru, Lord Chaitanya, and then so that more people come and serve his Guru, the mission of Prabhupada, etc. So on a spiritual platform, we always have to bend our head low and gratefully acknowledge the sacrifice of our Guru. Be grateful to him, be very I mean, whatever. The only way we can repay what our Guru does is to become very supportive to him and carry out his orders meticulously. Whatever they may be, meticulously with great faith, devotion, care, utmost care, and considering ourselves to be blessed by this merciful glance of the Guru, by which he is giving us some instructions and instructing us to do something for him or for the mission. But at the same time, we are also careful that we never rate ourselves as being very big devotees, good devotees, that we're able to follow any instruction properly. Because if we look at chanting Hare Krishna 16 rounds, it said that our hair should stand on end and we should have tears flowing down from our eyes when we chant. Forget about 16 rounds, even remembering the name of Krishna, we should feel like that. That's not how we feel. We have struggled staying away from sleep when we chant sometimes. So we have to understand that that's my position, and I cannot hope to please my Guru in this lifetime. I actually cannot. It's simply out of my cause, out of his compassion towards me, in order to encourage me. The Guru says, "I'm very pleased with your service. I'm very pleased with what you're doing. I'm happy with what you're doing." But then, of course, Guru also recognizes we make progress, master. We are Kali also. It's hard to expect anything else from us. So we are grateful to our Guru. It's the Guru's order that we go out and preach. So it's the instruction of our Guru. And obviously, when we meet somebody, it's not that the first verse we present to them is Guru Nasyat, Sasyat, whatever. We don't say this like Lord Chaitanya said. We just say chant Hare Krishna, take Prasad, read Gita, purify your life. Bring Krishna into your life, just add Krishna into your life. So we make them begin their journey like that. And who knows, some of them may go race far ahead of us in due course of time. We are stuck where we are, and they may make progress. They may pick up these books, and they're picking up from where they left last lifetime. They may become great devotees. I mean, this happened in ISKCON so many times. Somebody joined in 77, 78, 75 or something. Went on to become a much bigger leader than those who joined in 65, 66 or something like that. So different amazing things start happening in us, because I said it's a journey of faith. It's a journey of submission. It's a journey of confidence in the words of Guru and Shastra. So we present them basic Krishna consciousness. We pray that they should make progress, and they should make better progress than us. See, that's a mood of a Vaishnava. Vaishnava will always say, oh, let them make progress. I hope they don't suffer like me. Suffer like me in the sense that suffer lack of faith or slow progress, whatever. Let them make rapid progress. That will be best. The mood of a Vaishnava is like that. He relishes seeing other people make progress. So we begin how we are supposed to begin. Initially, Shraddhavan, we build faith in them, and then they do Bhajana Kriya. Then they do chanting, this and that. And then we wish, whenever we can, we encourage them, we support them. But who knows, they may even make faster progress than we do. Sometimes they may not. But we are always there as a supporting hand. So we don't begin. And as for your feeling about, when you look at these verses, you feel a little awkward, you feel a little embarrassed. But I go through the same feelings, Mataji, all the time. I just look back and see, wow, how many chances I had, and didn't I make a wonderful mess out of all that? I keep reflecting over it, and then I keep praying to Krishna that at least the remaining portion of my life, let me become serious. Let me become more serious. Let me become more focused. Let me become more unconditionally, whatever. I keep praying all the time. All the time, I keep praying. And that's what gives me hope that someday Krishna will smile and maybe make it happen. So you've got company, Mataji. Don't worry. I don't know if I answered your question.
Yes, Prabhuji, beautifully. Thank you, Prabhuji.
All right. So, Lilananda Prabhu, I once again express. I thought I saw something on chat. Let's just verify.
Yeah, let me just see. Is serving Mahatma the same as serving his representatives?
Yeah, more or less the same. More or less the same. We should not discriminate, actually. But of course, we have to accept that there's a gradation. There's the Guru, there's the Sannyasi, there's the Brahmana. Like that, there is a gradation. But in one sense, serving as a Guru or his representative is about the same thing. In fact, there is this whole Maryada when somebody comes as a messenger representative, he should be given more or less the same respect as you would give the person he is representing. The person he is representing. Our role is this: we are always eager, we're always ready, we always want to show respect. But then there is a time, place, there's a more Shastra, we can't be sentimental about it. There are instructions. If by that you mean, let's say, His Holiness Radhanath Swami is being a representative of Prabhupada, you should respect Radhanath Swami in the same manner in which Radhanath Swami respected Prabhupada. That's Parampara, understanding. Absolutely the same manner. Of course, we know that Prabhupada is also the founder Acharya, so in that sense, he has a special position, unique position. We have to understand. But in a larger, broader sense of the term, you respect Radhanath Swami in the same manner in which you respect Radhanath Swami respected Prabhupada. Thank you very much. So, Lilananda Prabhu, I don't know how to express my gratitude. I'm very grateful. I wish you all well. I will, to the limit of my capacity, I will pray for all of you. And I wish you all definitely well. And I hope we keep looking like this. I like it. I don't know about you people. I really like speaking to you all, spending time with you all.
The same here, Prabhuji.
We'll wait for the next opportunity again, Prabhuji. Prabhuji, but on this day, I would like to ask a benediction that if you can somehow make His Holiness Jayapataka Swami appear on this call someday, some week, some year.
All right. So, what are your preferred timings, or are you willing to come together for his sake, to suit him? Because obviously, that should be our mood. The best time for him would be between 7 to 8.
Yes, anytime that works for Maharaj.
7 to 8, I mean to say PM.
Yes, bro. On a Sunday, maybe we can make it happen. Any day
All
that
right.
Maharaj is available.
All right. I'll work on it.
Thank you.
I hope
Thank
it
you.
works out. I'll work
Thank
on it.
you,
I'll
Prabhuji.
definitely
Hare
work.
Krishna. My Dandavats Pranam to
Yeah.
Mataji and your whole family also, Prabhuji. Happy to know that you are in
Thank
safe
you.
and good health. Are you in some temple, Prabhuji? So I just wanted to inquire.
Yeah, I am in some remote temple on the outskirts of Rajamandri.
Oh, Hari
I just
Bol.
came here for some small program. I am heading to Kakinada. It's my hometown where my mother lives. My grandmother, my mother lived there. My aunts. So I just stopped over at this temple.
Hari Bol.
Thank you very much.
Hare Krishna.
What is the place? What is the
Hare Krishna, bro. Dandavats Pranam.
Hare Krishna Prabhu Dandavat.
Let us thank Prabhuji. 3 loud Hari Bol. Hari Bol.
Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol.
Hari
Bol.
Dandavats Pranam, Prabhuji.
So may Sri Radha Madan Mohan Jagannath Baladev Subhadra and Sri Gauri bless you all. May the Guru Parampara bless you all. Thank you very much for tolerating me. Hari Bol.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you all, Prabhuji and Mataji, for joining today morning so enthusiastically. And it was a little extended session, but thanks for staying by. And my request to keep your videos on. Really, I'm so grateful that you did that. I'm sure, he must have found so nice seeing all of you. So I hope today's lecture was any reflections, anybody, on how you felt about today's verse and the lecture before we wrap up? You can unmute and speak. Anybody? Any reflections on how you felt about today's lecture and the verse?
I felt that, Hare Krishna Prabhuji, I felt
Hare Krishna.
there was when I read the verse, there was a bit of conflict in my mind. Essentially, how do you balance? On one side, Prabhuji also mentioned, you need to stay away from people who are kind of a bit on the negative side. But on the other side, you have this huge responsibility to support your family also and to help people and be in the mood that you're always unconditionally loving them, whatever be the case. So I felt a bit of conflict in my head. It's still not yet fully resolved.
You can carry that conflict into Praveen Prabhu's class. Very well. Hare Krishna. Any other reflections, Prabhuji's, Mataji's?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandat Pranam.
Yes, Hari Bol. There you go.
Prabhuji, I think it was a much needed instruction for all of us, and especially me, that devotional service is not just doing your chanting or Mangalarti and then reading books. It's more about submission to your spiritual master. And very nicely, he gave the example of the disciples of Ramanujacharya, where they were so much dedicated, and we can see so many lives in Srila Prabhupada's movement, how they have dedicated. And even I have heard of many examples where Srila Prabhupada told those grahasthas to go and start a temple. They didn't even look back, and they have been preaching in such a long way. So I think it's instruction for all of us to take to our heart, and under your guidance, we all would like to someday do that.
The last line was not needed. Yeah, you're all guided by Srila Prabhupada, and so nice. And Prabhuji, thank you for today morning's Mangalarti. You pulled off it so nicely, the whole altar, and all the artis. It was so nice. Thank you very much, Malingamaya Prabhu. And Prabhuji's and Mataji's, if you don't know, Prabhuji preaches to youth, and he has created a new forum, and he's trying to encourage college children and young children to come and learn spirituality. So if you think you need to guide somebody, you can connect them to Mahalingamaya Prabhu. Hare Krishna. Any other reflections, Prabhuji? We'll take one more and we'll wrap up. How did you find Raju Prabhu, Madhusudan Prabhu, Akinchan Prabhu, Sheila Mataji, Murlidhar Prabhu? I'm just reading everybody's names. Vivek Prabhu. Hare Krishna. Was it useful? If you all felt useful, okay, well, one last reflection. Loud Hari Bol. Hari Bol! Hari Bol! Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki. वांछा कल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिंधुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः. अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय. And next weekend is going to be one amazingly blissful weekend. We have Subbarao Prabhu doing class on Saturday. Hari Bol, Hari Bol. And then we have Sitaram Prabhu doing class on Sunday. Don't miss Sitaram Prabhu's class. I'm telling you, he's fired up. Literally, your fire will come out of your laptop. That's what Prabhuji is. So you're not going to miss that, okay? And last but not the least, it's Pandav Nirjal Ekadashi, one of the main Ekadashis of among all the Ekadashis, and that's on Monday, right? So Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and Monday, of course, Srinivas Acharya Prabhu will come and he'll shoot us from Charlotte. It'll directly land in our house, right? So don't miss Prabhuji's class as well. So stay safe, stay healthy, and we'll see each other again in respective classes today in the Sunday. Let's meet in the evening or afternoon wherever you're scheduled. Hare Krishna. Dandavat Pranam. Hare Krishna.